WCLU news coverage of the 2022 primary election is brought to you in part by HVAC Services in Glasgow.
Started out just trying to get a job out of high school, trying to get my foot in the door, trying to get a career started.
We try to be a successful business for our employees and a long-term employment for our employees.
And with this type of trade, and especially with HVAC services, the opportunities are endless.
I don't think there's a better company anywhere in Kentucky.
Welcome to our program today, Mr. Chris Pulley. Thank you for joining us for our 2022 primary election coverage here at WCLU. First, how are you today?
I'm doing good, and thank you so much for having me on here.
Absolutely. Well, we are happy to promote local democracy and trying to inform voters when they go to the ballot to mark on their ballots this spring what they're actually going to be voting for, who they're going to be voting for, and just to put a face with the names. So first, let's learn a little bit about you before we get into why you're running for jailer this year. Just talk about your personal life, if you don't mind.
All right, Brennan. Well, I'm 44 years old. Recently just got married back this September to Jennifer. We've been together about 4 years. I have a 20-year-old daughter. She's here in Glasgow. I'm local. I was born here in Barren County, native Barren Countyan. So I went to Glasgow throughout all my school, kindergarten all the way through high school. 96 is when year I graduated, and I worked locally here at a factory here in Glasgow, which I hope to change that here in this year. That about, pretty much puts me in a nutshell.
Sure. Thinking about running for jailer, what are some things that come to mind for your inspiration to do so?
Well, I had worked for the jail for a few years, and when you work up there, it's not just a job. It's more of a passion. It's more of a career. It's either you like it or you don't like it. And me, I fell in love with it. It's a great job. I mean, it's one of those things where you can actually see results of your work if you see somebody on the street that was, I guess you would call a resident or incarcerated up there at the time. That for me is probably the biggest thing for me running. Another reason for me running is, what can I say? I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but I just love my county. I love my hometown. I've been here all my life, like I said. Right. And, I want to see what's best for it. The jail is not the most glorious, jailer isn't the most glorious position in the world, but, it has to be done,
Right.
So that kind of sums that up, the reason why I want to.
A big thing with local jails, incarceration, has been in most recent years, what ways can we stop repeat offenders? What way can we keep people out of jail and on a better road to whether it's recovery if they're involved in drugs or just keeping them out of trouble as a society? Thinking about some of your inspiration for running for jailer, what are some ideas that you have for being constructive in the jail?
Okay, it's kind of a two-part question there. You touched on two different things. The first thing is, yes and no. The jail can be self-sufficient. It can be with different revenues, from state inmates, from commissary, from road crews that we have with the state. Right now, we currently just do Barren County for state road crews. We could talk to other counties about, starting up a road crew with them and see if that would be a thing. Another thing, this could be something later on down the road. I'm just going to throw this out here. Whether I win this or not, this is something for other candidates to consider. Housing federal inmates is definitely a big possibility up here. Right now, do we have the room to do that at the moment? No, but it could possibly be done down the road. Then, getting to the second part of that question, repeat offenders. It's going to be one of those things where education. We can offer 10,000 classes up there. We've got a stack of them right now. I think there's, when I left the facility up there, I wanted to think there was 4, 5 different classes. that the residents could take. I feel that there could be more, but the only bad part of it is it's a county jail, okay? Unless they're a state inmate or they're going to be there for a long period of time, it's pretty much they're in here this week, next week they're out. It's kind of hard to reach them. That's the reason why I would personally want to set up something with like an a community outreach group or something like that, drug education, parenting classes, kind of what we have up there, but see if we could like maybe get some community volunteers to teach these classes outside of the jail and, to keep recidivism rate down.
Sure. Expound upon that a little bit. You talk about clearly you want to reach those that are in jail by doing those classes at the jail. And currently, from my understanding, that's something that's currently going on. Like you said, parenting classes, anger management, even potentially people can get their GEDs. But a good point there that you did make. You do have a lot of turnover. It's not a prison. It's not something where people are incarcerated for months, years on end. So reaching people outside of the jail, describe that logic a little bit.
Okay, just for example, say you get somebody who comes in who has several weekends pulled. The judge granted them weekend jail. All right. I'd say at the end of their sentence, it's like, okay, well, this is like your second DUI, okay? So we want to help you so you don't do this anymore. Okay, like this, we have partnered with, say, Group A here. Like if you can meet with these people on this day, where they could maybe help you see where the issue may lie, so you don't fall back in this no more. Same thing with like a small time drug offenders. Like, okay, we got this group that can help you, talk to you, try to see what the issue is, so we don't see you back up here. Just because it's kind of hard to do, but just because they leave the jail doesn't mean it doesn't have to stop there. And I know people are going to scream money, money, money. And of course, that's what everything is. I don't think it would be too hard to convince a couple groups to do this on volunteer time. Because the more money we save up there by not having inmates, more money can go into the general fund, more money they can go out to other things that we need in the county. Being
in the jail, you mentioned having some history there from working in the detention center here. Clearly, we could talk about trends, what offenses are most popular, but it's no doubt that drug use is a big deal here, particularly in rural communities. Drug use, whether it's methamphetamine, whether it's pills, and in most recent times, we're seeing more illicit drugs being used. But once you get into the jail, clearly the idea is you don't have access to those. But lending to the idea of transparency, how might you promote transparency in your position as jailer compared to perhaps other administrations?
All right. Very good point. Meth is probably the worst thing that's ever happened in this world. Meth, fentanyl, heroin, any of that. It's horrible. And like I said, the trend is, you've got 60-70% of the population up there that is drug offenses, meth, and stuff like that. It's horrible. But anyways, getting back to what you were saying about transparency, I would have an open door. I would invite anybody from the fiscal court, who would want to come up there and see what's going on. Absolutely, by all means, please come up. I want you to see how it runs on a daily basis. I want you to see what we offer, what we do. And that would kind of go to the general public at large. Of course, there's certain points in the building facility we cannot let people in, of course. But, for the most part, we can bring them up there. You can see how this runs day to day. And it's not putting on a show one day, then the next day, well, this is exactly what goes on. What you see up there, it doesn't matter who's up there, it's what happens every day. Right. There is no putting a curtain over it.
As a prospective jailer, what's your standpoint on making sure that inmates or residents of the facility are at least treated, fairly across the board?
Okay, my philosophy has been literally from the first day I stepped in up there. I was it's not my job to judge you. It's my job to make sure that the sentence that was passed by the judge is served. There is absolutely zero tolerance for, treating this inmate better than this inmate. Zero tolerance. I mean, you look at it, you can see somebody who may have forgot to pay a speeding ticket fine, had a bench warrant issue, all the way up to a murder. I mean, the whole gamut's ran up there. And, you have to have the mindset everybody is the same. It's hard to do at times. I'll be the first one to admit it's hard to do at times, but you have to be professional about it. You have to go in and do it. It's not fair to the inmate that is waiting on trial, for us to be, okay, we're going to be all nice to you. To the inmate that's been sentenced to, well, we don't care, we're done with you. You've already been sentenced. What are you going to do? Can't do that.
Sure.
Everybody's got to be treated exactly.
In one word or a few words, if you will, describe your leadership style.
I almost like to consider leadership by committee. I mean, one person can be the face of the jail. Absolutely. I mean, whoever is elected the jailer is the face of the jail, but it takes that whole group inside the jail to run it. My idea one day may not be the best. Captain or lieutenant may have a better idea. It's like, hey, can we try this? Absolutely, let's try this. So, I mean, I'm going to almost say leadership by committee.
Sure. If you had 30 seconds to describe why someone should vote for you on the Republican side of things for jailer, what would you say, given the fact that, of course, you have a few other competitors when it comes to the Republican ticket, and then obviously if you make it past the primary, then you'll have a Democratic opponent as well. Why are you the standout for Republican candidate for jailer?
Okay, first and foremost, like I said, I am a native Barren Countyan. I've lived here my whole life. I'm the only native Barren Countyan on the Republican ticket. Going into this, I am the only one with experience going into it, and what I mean by that is, yes, the current jailer has experience up there, but when he first started running, he had no experience at the jail. Then, of course, my opponent has no experience. I know how day-to-day, how the jail runs. I know what kind of money it takes to run that jail, and I know how we can run that jail on fewer dollars.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming in today. Thank you so much for participating in our election coverage for the primary election here in Barren County. We've been speaking today with the jailer candidate on the Republican ticket, Mr. Chris Pulley. Thank you again, and best of luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Brandon.